Okay, The Amazing Spider-Man. I did not see it in 3D, nor did I see it in XD. That's where your seat would move to. From what I saw of the trailers, I feel I'd probably get motion sickness. So, the plot for this one deals a little bit more with Peter's parents than the previous trilogy. I mean, they deal very, very lightly with them, but you can tell if this continues throughout a trilogy, they're going to hit on that more and more. Andrew Garfield, who plays Peter Parker / Spider-Man in this one, he's had more of like slacker nerd qualities to him, and he's very much a gadget guy. He made a gadget where he can like tap a button on his computer and it actually locks his door, stuff like that. His transformation from being the regular kind of nerdy guy who has that weird slacker skateboarder vibe, which I never got from the original Peter Parker, is pretty good. Comes to the quips, good job with it. They really kept the majority of the plot kind of nice and light, which is what you want Spider-Man. And he has great chemistry with Emma Stone, who plays Gwen Stacy. You can buy more into their relationship than you could with Toby and Kirsten. Uncle Ben, played by Martin Sheen, really good job for the small amount of time he's in there. They actually did a better job getting there to be that almost slight animosity between him and Peter. Where at the moments you can tell he's really proud of him, but then when they get into a small heated argument, he brings up, "You're not my father," sort of speech. And it plays off really well. And Aunt May is Sally Fields. So again, you've got a lot of decent, solid actors in this. And of course, he goes to Oscorp, kind of worms his way to a different spot because he sees a symbol similar to what he saw in his father's notes. That's when he gets bitten by the spider. And then his initial time he uses his abilities is like a subway fight. And it has a great level of goofy awkwardness to it. And then when he comes back, you almost get the impression that he seems like he's high because he grabs a bunch of food. It's kind of comedic, kind of lighthearted, and Martin Sheen and Sally Fields play it off beautifully. And then he goes on his hunt, and then of course, you know that Uncle Ben has to die. It's done differently. In the past, they've done Spider-Man in the wrestling ring, and then the guy robbing the till, and then Uncle Ben getting shot. This time, Peter's trying to buy a thing of milk, and he's short by 2 cents. So he goes to the take a penny, leave a penny, and the guy's like, "No, dude, no, you can't use that." So then when the convenience store clerk gets robbed, he's like, "Hey, it's not my policy." And he's more or less on the same street when Uncle Ben gets shot. So it's done, he's actually there when his Uncle Ben dies, as opposed to finding out later. That's what then begins his vigilante quest, trying to use his abilities to exact revenge. He falls through a roof and lands in a wrestling ring, and then he sees the mask of, it's like Crusader of the Night, so it's a luchador mask. And I translated it for you. And it has Spider-Man's qualities, so then he builds just the mask. So it's like street clothes and a mask. And then later he actually builds the full suit. So he's trying to hunt down the guy who shot his Uncle Ben. While at the same time kind of dating Gwen Stacy, whose father, played by Dennis Leary, is the chief of police. Decent amount of friction. He lets Gwen know really, really quick that he is also Spider-Man. And why he has to be Spider-Man. So going from the pure vengeance side to him actually accepting his responsibility and becoming Spider-Man was done really well. They did a very solid job on this movie. But then again, they had a pretty thing to pull back from where they can just go, okay, Spider-Man 1 and 2 really worked. Yeah. Why did they work? Take that, update the special effects, throw in Kurt Connors as the Lizard, played by, I think his name is Rhys Ifans, who actually has experience in playing this character. I do believe he was the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I do believe that was him. So he does a great job in playing the tortured scientist whose whole purpose is, I can get rid of weakness. I can make everyone's life better. And at the same time being crushed by Oscorp, kind of going, your initial trials worked, yeah. Norman Osborn's dying, so we need to ramp this up. and do human trials. You know, we'll pick like the downtrodden and run it on them. As soon as we can get this into Norman Osborn so he can survive, the better. He kind of goes, like, no, it worked on this rat. We need to take it up step by step by step before you do human trials. No, if you don't want to do it, fine. Clear out your stuff, and we'll just take your formula and inject people ourselves. Which therefore makes Kirk Connors inject himself. And that scene where he wakes up from it, he lifts his arm up, and like his forearm and hand hit the underside of the table. And then he looks at it and he peels off, you know, the flesh to it, and he's moving it around. They did a beautiful job, and the way he's acting, like oh, he has a whole, like, I have a hand. You know, I have both hands now. Done really, really well. And the battle between the Lizard and Spider-Man. My only really complaint is you can tell it's entirely all CGI. So it does kind of give off that video game cutscene feeling every now and then. But they do a good job when it comes to them talking to each other. I like the way with the Lizard they kept more kind of like humanist eyes. So you can see all the green, but just a little bit of almost like human emotion from the eyes. And the jawline was done really well. You know, the Lizard looks fantastic. They did a really solid job on it. The transformations back and forth were done very well. Everyone did a fantastic job when it came to the acting in this movie. Plot, you know, once the Lizard finds out that he can do this, they introduce a device that you can take the genetic material and make a cloud. It's pretty easy to figure out what he wants to do. He's going to use that to disperse a cloud and turn a bunch of people into the Lizards. Because you're stronger, faster, you know, you're all around better from a physical standpoint. Maybe kind of crazy, but overall better. And then, of course, Spider-Man's defeated. So done very well. Is there a mid-scene during the credits? Yes. Kirk Connors in prison being visited by a guy with a hat, who may or may not be Norman Osborn. For a minute, it almost sounded like Willem Dafoe. Which would be ridiculous to have him still be the character. But, you know, so all in all, very good job. I'm still trying to figure out why, you know, the Marvel-based movies, not Marvel Studios, but just Marvel in general, just seem to be really, really easy to translate into a solid film.